Hello guys, welcome to a brand new video from me, Pickles Parker Reviews. Now today, I'm covering 3 more trailers in a trailer reaction roundup video, including the 4th and final trailer for Avengers Endgame, titled the Special Look trailer, the first teaser for the new Joker movie, directed by Todd Phillips and starring Joakim Phoenix as the Clown Prince of Crime himself, and the long-anticipated Star Wars Episode 9 first trailer, now officially titled The Rise of Skywalker. So we've got a lot to cover in this video, so let's just dive straight into the first trailer, the special look trailer for Avengers Endgame. Now we've had a lot of trailers released for Endgame, more than we did for Infinity War, which surprised me. I thought the third trailer was going to be the final trailer, yet we have this one, and part of me is glad we've got this and part of me is not, mainly because in this trailer there seems to be a lot more footage from later on in the film. Now, part of me really likes that. Obviously, there's a lot of rumours saying that most of the footage was from the first half an hour, which was quite good. You know, they're knocking down the spoilers. Most of the stuff's going to be a surprise. However, now a lot of the stuff in this seems to be from later on in the film. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm really glad we're seeing more of it. But also, I'm kind of not glad because I'd rather they would have saved some of this stuff for the film, like Thanos coming in, his big monologue, which is great. By the way, you know, the scene with Iron Man and Captain America, they look like they're in New York, possibly in the Battle of New York, like we've seen those set photos, but obviously Iron Man's like, do you trust me? And Cap's like, I do, and all that stuff. That's a great scene, and all this. The music's a bit odd. It's obviously going for a darker approach, but there's just something about it that isn't quite as good as the other trailers. Oh no, it's a shorter trailer, and obviously there's a load of stuff. It's Endgame, so it looks great. I've already said how hyped I am for Endgame, so it all looks like great stuff. So the footage, there's not really much to go over, but there is more of a darker tone in this trailer. Music's a bit odd, and like I said, part of me loves that we're seeing more of the rest of the film. Part of me doesn't. However, obviously, for building hype for Endgame, it's just off the scale right now. I mean, Endgame is just so hype, and I just can't wait to see it. So yeah, there's not very much to say about this trailer because I've said most of what I have to say while covering the other 3 trailers. You know, there's not very much to talk about. It's just Endgame, but obviously I've said a couple of little bits that I'm unsure of, but other than that, I mean, it just looks fantastic. It's just Endgame. Endgame is just off the scale through hype, man. So yes, now we're on to our second trailer, and I definitely have a lot more to say about this one. Now this is the trailer for Joker, directed by Todd Phillips and starring Joakim Phoenix. This is the standalone Joker prequel movie that obviously had been in production for a while. I believe one of my first ever videos on the channel was covering the announcement of this, and obviously I've done a video more recently discussing the set photos of Joakim Phoenix in costume. Now we've got an actual teaser trailer, and I am so conflicted on this. It's absolutely unbelievable, because on one hand, I just think this trailer is incredible. The music, the shots, it's just so builds anticipation for what looks to be such a perfect movie. But then on the other hand, for it being a Joker movie, there's not a lot of Joker-y stuff in this trailer that really make me think this is a Joker movie, and I'll kind of explain more of that as we go along. But as I said, talking about good things, this trailer as a whole is perfect. I love the music, not just the track towards the end, but I love the opening bit where we first get into the trailer. I think the music in that is absolutely stellar. There's some great shots of really exploring this Gotham City that seems to be in this movie, and I think the actual what seems to be the backstory of the Joker is great. It draws many similarities between what's happening to Arthur Fleck in this movie and what happens to the Riddler in Gotham, Edward Nygma. I really like how they did the Riddler on that show, and it seems that they're very similar stuff going on here in terms of the backstory. Obviously this is much more physical abuse and torment, whereas in that it's more verbal abuse. However, in both cases we get someone who stands out from the crowd, is a bit odd, and is, you know, absolutely just, you know, trodden on for it by society, and ultimately makes them, you know, rise up and gain confidence as a criminal. So there's similarities there, and that whole story I really love. I loved how they do it in Gotham, and it seems to be really good in this. Overall, the trailer's great, and I think ultimately the movie as a package that we get in this trailer just looks so fantastic. I think the whole idea of doing this backstory and showing that side of a supervillain just makes for such a fantastic movie. And like I said, the dialogue, the shots, the music, just the composition of all the clips in this trailer, and the concept of the backstory for this supervillain just makes me so just intrigued with this movie, and it looks really great. But here's why I'm conflicted on this movie, because while the trailer for the movie is great, I don't actually think that the Joker is why I'm anticipated for this movie, because I've gone back and forth on this. I've watched the trailer a number of times, and there's basically nothing in this trailer that is particularly Jokery or really makes me think, yeah, this is a Joker movie. You know, this backstory has been made for this film specifically, and I believe in a previous older video I did say I was open to the idea of them making a Joker origin movie. However, rewatching The Dark Knight, really, you know, rediscovering my favourite aspects of the character in Heath Ledger's portrayal, I really like in that film, and how he's done often throughout the comics, is the Joker, you don't know his identity, you don't really know where he came from. It's what separates him from other villains. For example, the Riddler, the Penguin, Two-Face, they all have a backstory. You all know where they came from, who they were before. Yet the Joker is just some guy. He just came out of nowhere, and he is a myth, an idea. He's more than just a man, and I think that's, you know, demonstrated brilliantly in The Dark Knight and a handful of comic books, etc., etc. And that's one of the elements I love about the Joker, and he hasn't always been done that way, but that's my preferred portrayal. I don't think you need an origin, and I think it downgrades the character significantly, and takes away a vital, at least in my opinion, element of the Joker and what makes him such a good villain. Whereas in this, you know, it's playing into a tragedy, it's playing into you feeling sorry for the Joker, and seeing what caused him to become the Joker, how they're doing it, for me, really makes you lose his effectiveness as an idea, an inspiration to inspire people. I think it really loses that. He's not really the physical embodiment of madness and chaos. From what I'm getting from the trailer, he's of the physical embodiment of torture and pain and being absolutely, you know, battered by society. That's what he seems to be the physical embodiment of in this trailer, and I think it really takes away a vital element of the character for me. And I think the thing is, this trailer looks great, and this idea of the backstory they've got for the Joker is great, and seems like it's going to make a really great movie. However, I think there's just so many better villains that you could have chosen from. Like I said, I love how they did the Riddler in Gotham. He would quite easily lend himself to this film. I could just see it right now. And obviously, for me, the Riddler's one of my favourite supervillains. He's actually my favourite Batman villain, only behind the Joker, so it would be great to see him. And there's loads of other comic book villains. You could do the Penguin. There's so many other Batman villains that would be so much better suited to a film like this than the Joker. But obviously the Joker's the big name. He's what's going to draw people in. I don't want this to sound like I'm not excited for the movie, because as I've said, the trailer is phenomenal. But there's nothing in this movie that is particularly Jokery to me. There's nothing about this story that screams Joker. And to be honest, if he was somebody else, or wasn't even a Batman villain, this trailer would have the same effect. It would still be great. King Phoenix doesn't really seem like the Joker. Sure, he's not really playing the Joker in this, and I'm sure he will give a good performance because he's a great actor, and these types of films usually, you know, aid you and open up the chance for you to give a phenomenal performance, these kind of character studies. So I'm sure he'll give a great performance, he'll be a great Joker, but there's nothing in this trailer for me that is really Jokery here. The only thing he does in this trailer that is particularly Jokery for me is when he intercepts the rally and you see all those like people with Joker masks, you know, fighting police officers. That is a very Jokery thing to do. Obviously we have the Joker followers there, so that's obviously very Jokery. But apart from that, there's nothing in this trailer that really screams Joker, and that's why I'm so conflicted on it. Because on one hand, I think the trailer's phenomenal, the concept behind the backstory of this criminal is just perfect for a film like this, and I'm really excited to see it. But on the other hand, the main selling point of this film, which is the Joker, is non-existent in this trailer for me, so therefore I'm very conflicted on it. We're just talking about the composition of the trailer, it's a fantastic trailer. But if we're talking about this idea of being a supervillain origin movie, I think this is fantastic. But on the basis of being a Joker movie and a Joker origin movie, it's not very good in my opinion. That's not to say I'm not very hyped, because as I've stated, I am still very intrigued by this film. And yes, finally, Star Wars Episode 9, now officially titled Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. And this trailer, again, I have very mixed feelings on. Because on one hand, it just gives you a shiver up your spine. It's just like, oh, this is Star Wars. But on the other hand, when you look at it, it's not really giving us anything else than, oh look, this is Star Wars. Remember how good Star Wars is. There's some cool shots with Rey, with the lightsaber, that opening shot, that looks really cool. Kylo Ren slaughtering some stormtroopers mysteriously. You know, him constructing his mask, seeing Finn and Poe and those characters again, seeing, you know, R2 and C-3PO, that gave me a smile on my face. Seeing Billy D. Williams as Lando, goddammit, I just had such a big smile on my face because he had such a big smile on my face. There's no indication of plot here, and I feel why people are getting so excited is because they're relying on that trick of nostalgia again. Remember how much you love Star Wars, and that works for The Force Awakens because Star Wars was just returning. However, with this, I really would have hoped by now that this trilogy will have moved beyond Star Wars nostalgia and will have really carved a plot and a through line for the film. I know it's the conclusion to the whole saga, so they want to have some things from the past in it, and you obviously can do that. Lando's a good inclusion, but it seems from this trailer all it's really trying to do is look how much you love Star Wars, and I do love Star Wars, which is why part of me loves this trailer. But the other part is just like, come on, we should be trying to sell us more than just Star Wars in its just being Star Wars. You know, and this is not me saying that deconstructing Star Wars and, you know, completely flipping it on its head like The Last Jedi did is a good idea, because I've said I don't like The Last Jedi. But what I'm saying is, I think we really should have moved on to an actual plot, because there's no plot in this movie, and as I've said, my main problem for not being hyped for Episode 9 is because there's nothing at the end of The Last Jedi that sets anything up for there to be in Episode 9. There just isn't really anything. And in here, my prayers haven't been answered because we don't actually see any plot or any indication of how this is going to go. We see the wreckage of the Death Star or Starkiller base, I'm not sure which one. However, we see that there. And like I said, we see Leia, we see Billy D. Williams, all this stuff just reminding us of how good Star Wars is. And yes, Star Wars is great, but I just want to see a bit more of that. As I've said, I love seeing C-3PO and R2. I love seeing Billy D. Williams back as Lando. I love seeing Kylo Ren's mask being reconstructed. Ultimately, I think the wrongdoings of this trailer are encapsulated by Palpatine coming back. Emperor Palpatine, the Emperor, Darth Sidious. He goes by many names, but he is returning in this film. We hear that laugh at the end. And I know a lot of people are excited about this I'm not really, mainly because I think it just massively undermines Return of the Jedi, because the ending of Return of the Jedi is already slightly undermined by the sequel trilogy, because the First Order rises up, the fight continues, therefore that almost undermines the victory of Return of the Jedi a little bit. Now with the Emperor now being miraculously alive, what are they actually celebrating in Return of the Jedi? What did they actually do? What miraculous feat did they do? It just feels like Vader died for nothing. It just feels like they're celebrating nothing. It just undermines that so much. I don't see a reason that he needs to be back in here. I imagine whatever the Emperor will do is what JJ originally planned Snoke to do, but obviously he didn't want to bring him back, as in that would just be a blatant course correction from The Last Jedi. I don't think he wanted to make it as obvious as that would make it. However, I'm just not thrilled with the idea, and I can understand people being so, but I just think it's just another thing where it's like, oh look, old things from Star Wars. He's just like, yes, but just give us a bit more. From a teaser standpoint, it certainly made me intrigued more for episode 9, but there's no indication of plot, and therefore my prayers haven't really been answered. The title, The Rise of Skywalker, I'm not a fan of. I'm sure it'll grow on me, The Last Jedi certainly grown on me. However, I don't think it sounds right as a title. When I go in to say it, I keep on going to say The Rise of the Skywalker. I think there's just something missing there. That's probably just me, but it's just my instinct. There's just kind of something missing there. But also, what Skywalker is rising? Is it Luke? Is it Vader? Is it, people say Kylo Ren, but he's not Skywalker. He's either a Solo or Organa. Is it Rey? Who is it rising? I'm sure it's probably just a nice little nod to this being the conclusion of the Skywalker saga, but obviously there may be a bigger meaning in it as well, and yeah, I don't know. But for this, it's an interesting trailer, sure, but it just relies too heavily on nostalgia for me, which I don't mind for the Force Awakens trailer, but by now, I think we really should have moved past that. Yes, those are my thoughts on all 3 trailers. What are your thoughts on the trailers? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comment section below. And thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and drop a sub and hit that notification bell to stay notified for all my latest videos. And thank you guys for watching. And of course, a goodbye.